I would like to continue with Python lists. So there are many more things you can do with them. For example, you can sort them. Let's introduce the list, which I would call course numbers. All right, and let them be 342, 210, 260, and 230. Right. Uh, so then, if I do course num dot sort, this method will sort it for me. So if I print course num, it will give it me in the ascending order. And by the way, I just want to remind you that you can look up the values of your variables here in the Variable Explorer at the top. You don't necessarily need to print it every time you need to see what's inside your variable. All right, you can apply this method not only to numerical lists but also to other types of lists. So for example, if I create a list of courses, which I would say be thermo, CPC, fluid flow, and thermo 2. Right, I can do courses. You can see them here, right? Courses sort, and it sorted it for me. So let me print courses. It sorted it for me. Well, not exactly in the order you take those courses, but in the alphabetical order, right? So you can also find minimum and maximum if it's a numerical. If it's a numerical value, if it's a numerical list, that's transparent, right? You can do min of course num 210. Well, and that's sort of the minimum I'm expecting from you here, taking these Python course, right? You can actually apply it to to other types of lists, and that will give you the minimum element here. Well, again, in terms of the alphabetical order. So since it starts from the letter C, well, that gives you this is a minimum. You can do many more things with lists. For example, you can add the list, similar to how we were adding strings. So you can, if we have one list 1, 2, 3, and another list 4, 5, 6. So if we add them, it won't Python won't add them on the basis of elements. It will concatenate them similar to the strings. So the list C, which is a sum of lists A and B, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can actually append it to the existing list. So for example, if you have this list C and I want to add something to the list C, I can write C plus equals A. And then C now would include what it had plus these 3 additional elements here. So there are many more methods for the list, and I mentioned some of them I think before, but let me mention a couple of more. So for example, well, let's operate on my list C. I can count the instances of a certain element in it. So I do c.count and give it the element, right? So for example, let's count how many 3s we have here. Well, we have the 2 instances of element 3, right? Then we can extend it. So when we were adding to the list, well, it's sort of similar to adding to it, right? So we do c extend, except for now we're not adding the list, but we can either extend a single element, right? Sorry. We cannot extend a single element. We need to extend a sequence, or what is known as tuple. So if I print C now, so you see that 155 is added to the end, and well, in fact, when you use extend method, you need to use the parentheses here to describe the sequence or tuple. I will speak about tuples in a separate video. So for now, we're fine with lists. All right, we can return and remove an element with the method pop. So pop. I didn't mean to do it with A. I meant to do it with C. So it will return the last element of the C, and it will also remove it from the C. So you see we had 2 5s in the end, now we have only 1 5. So if I do it again, I'll remove the next 5 from it. Another option, we can return and remove an element at a certain index using the same method. So if I do cpop and then say, well, a certain index, let it be 1, right? It returns me the element with the index 1, so the second element, which is 2. And now C is becomes shorter, and this element is removed, you see. Then another thing we can do with lists, we can reverse them. So if I do C reverse, it will give me the same list in the reverse direction. So you see that's reading from right to left. Or, as I mentioned before, you can also sort the list, and as a result, you will get this in the ascending order. Well, the next thing, which I'm going to show you, is probably, well, the most important thing we do with lists is indexing the elements in the list. So the syntax for indexing and slicing is the following. So if we want to return a certain element of the list at a certain position, let's say C1, right, returns as the first element, C2 returns as the second, well, and so on and so forth. But there is a way to return a certain slice from the list, certain sub list from it. And the syntax is the following. I'll write it as a comment, so it should be C, and then, well, the start point, then the stop point, and the step with the semicolons between them. So for example, let's go again to the C, and let's say we want to take the elements from the third one to the fifth one, well, with step 1, right? So these are these two elements, and it returns it. In fact, you don't need you don't need to specify the step. By default, the step is 1. So C3 to 5 returns us the same thing. So also, if you want to return it from the third element till the end, you just put one column, and it will return it from these elements till the end of your list. If you want to return, for example, from this element till the one before the last element, you would put the -1 as an index of the last element. And you can also, if you use, the step, you can do, for example, from the beginning, right? So from 0 to the very end, right? then the step, okay, so this is how I can do it. But the step would be -1. So that will return the entire list, but in the reverse order, because we're going in the opposite direction, having the step -1. So you can do it in a reverse order with a step -2. That gives us every second element from here. So let me show you again with with a positive step. So for example, if we were to do from the beginning to the end with a step 2, we would get something like that. So here we start at the beginning and we go into the end, but we're taking every other element, right? So let me give you C again so that you can see this one, and this one, then this one, this, and this. So this is called a slicing of the list, and that's very convenient. And well, if you remember the idea of a palindrome, when we had to look at the string in the opposite order, in the reverse order, well, that can be done with slicing, similarly to how it is done with lists here. And well, one more important thing about slicing. So slicing does not change the list. Slicing actually creates a copy of this list. If I get a list, if I create a list D, which would be C starting from the third element, you know, and then I decide, okay, that I want to change the first element in the D to put 10, right? So D would be, well, 10, and well, the rest remains the same. But if I look at my C, the list C remained as well unaffected.